Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the X-Shot Insanity Motorized Ragefire. This blaster was purchased at Sam's Club for $49.97 USD. And this one here is actually a Sam's Club exclusive configuration with bonus chains and darts. And for comparison, I'm here on Target.com taking a look at the Ragefire store page, where it retails for $44.99 USD, and it includes 72 darts and 40 chains, while the Sam's Club configuration includes 200 darts and 80 chains. So you are getting a little bit more for around $5, but keep in mind that you need a Sam's Club membership. The other accessories included are the same as the regular configuration. It includes 2 dart holders, a set of linkage pieces, a tripod, and a scope. The blaster's recommended age is ages 8+, and it requires 6 AA batteries. So this is part of the X-Shot Insanity line, whose whole gimmick is combining different blasters in the lines to make monstrosities. Kind of like what we have down here. So this here is a belt-fed blaster, which is something I actually don't think I have ever owned. And I'm also not sure if this is compatible with the older X-Shot chains, because there's a couple of chain-fed blasters that X-Shot made a while ago, and I'm wondering if these are compatible. I don't have any on hand. If you have this blaster as well as some of the old chains, let me know in the comments. Here we can see the other blasters in the line. We got the Berserko, the Maniac, the Mad Mega Barrel, and the motorized Ragefire. Maybe I'll take a look at these in a different video, but for now, we gotta get this out of the box and see what's inside. All right, so here we have the Ragefire out of the box. Here we have our darts, our belts, our connector block things, extra dart storage, our scope, and tripod. We also have the blaster itself and a set of instructions. Also, something I realized while unboxing this, something I completely missed, is the box says batteries included. I didn't even realize this until I took the blaster out of the box and saw this plastic tab here. And for this review, I am going to be using the batteries because they intended these batteries to be used with this blaster right out of the box, so we're going to use them. But I am going to open up the battery compartment just to take a look at them, make sure they're a-okay and not leaked or anything. So there's 2 screws on the back here, and it just pops out. And then we have our batteries here. They don't look leaked or anything, but let's take one out. So here we go. Brand I've never seen before. They are made in China and does appear to be a Chinese company. So if anyone from China is watching this video, maybe you'll recognize these. We have our chains here. The chains are in chunks of 10. They are able to be linked together. Let's see if we can do that on camera here. They don't seem to be too difficult to link, just like that. And I think you can break the links without breaking the actual thing. Yeah, okay. So you can pull them apart if need be. So that's pretty cool. Little accessory block things. These can just slide on to the side of the blaster as the box shows. And they kind of just clip in there. We have our dart storage here. We are going to be loading these up with darts and seeing if they'll hold the darts throughout the entire video. They do have these little black pieces that fit into the rails here. You can put them on however you want. So here we have our scope. Has a little reticle back here as well as a rail on top. And it goes on like so. And before we attach the tripod, I do want to see about loading this thing. So you have a little switch on the bottom, so you pull that back, and then you can load your belts. The hollow side is up, so you put that in there, and it just clicks in there like so, and you flick it back, and then your chain is locked in the blaster. So then to fire, you push the trigger in to rev it, and then you pull down to fire. So that's how you load the blaster. And then lastly, we have the tripod. Now this tripod is pretty flimsy. You're not going to be attaching cameras to this anytime soon. It is adjustable. You do have these little collars here that unscrew, and you can adjust it to different heights. So that's pretty cool. We'll see how this thing works in our range test. To attach the tripod, we have this little knob here. You rotate it and take the little pin out, and then you can attach the tripod like so. Just do the same thing, lock it in place, and it just sits there. It swivels back and forth and moves it a little bit up and down. And it also has this switch here. I think that's for if you have it standing, you can lock it so it stays up straight. We'll have to look at that in the range part of this video. So yeah, without further ado, let's get this blaster out on the range and see how it fares. All right, so here we are out on the range. As you can see, we have our targets set up over there. So how we're gonna be doing the test today is I've split the belt into 4 pieces. So each of them are holding 20 darts. We'll see if the Ragefire can cycle through all these darts. That's what we're gonna be doing for ammo. As for the tripod, at 25 feet, I'm gonna be using it without the tripod, and then I'm gonna move to the tripod for 50 feet. I also loaded up the included dart storage with the darts we're gonna be using. I have 11 of each dart in each holder. I didn't mention this in the beginning, but these dart storages can hold up to 23 darts, 24 if you remove this little clip here. And if they fall out, I'm not going to put them back in. We'll see how well it holds. And also something I realized, these rails here, they're not some proprietary X-Shot thing. They're actually Picatinny rails. So I have the Dart Zone Mark III scope here, or red dot sight, and it just clips on there just fine. If you have any Picatinny accessories, you could attach them to this blaster. All right, so let's start our range test. But before I forget, that is your sight picture. So we're gonna be starting off with the X-Shot darts. Okay, so we can hit anything. Okay, we missed 1 dart. Okay, next we have Nerf. Once again, 1 dart, though this one I think I loaded it in too far because that's the first link. Next we have Adventure Force. Here we go. That time we missed 2 darts. It's the second and third, it seems. And lastly, we have Dart Zone. We missed the first link, so I wonder if I'm loading it incorrectly. All right, so we're about 50 feet away. And as usual for context, the chicken marks 25 feet, the frog marks 35 feet, the swan marks 40 feet, and the back wall marks 50 feet from where I'm standing. Here we have the Ragefire on its tripod. This is maxed out as far as I know. I thought it was supposed to be taller than this. Also, this little switch here on the bottom is actually to lock it into place. Right, so if we unlock it, we pull it back, the Ragefire kind of moves all over the place. So this allows you to lock it straight. All right, so let's see if we can hit anything. All right, so the first dart we're going to be testing out is X-Shot, and we're going to be using our little sight here. See how well this aims. All right, see if we can hit anything. Oh, we had a jam. We missed the first, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a total of 7 darts we missed. They weren't going to the 50-foot mark at all. They were landing around the 40-foot mark from what it seems like, but oh gosh. Okay, so we have to angle it pretty high if we want to make it to the 50-foot mark, but that seemed to work just fine. All right, so let's move on to Nerf. That's something. It jammed though. Missed two. It got jammed the last one. But those did go further than the X-Shot darts. So next we have Adventure Force. Okay. So that seemed to be around 40 feet. Some of them did make it to 50. This is not a long range blaster here. This is definitely a short to medium range kind of blaster. And lastly, we have Dart Zone. Let's see how this fares. Yeah, not exactly going the farthest. So I would say about 40 for each of the darts. Nerf did go a little bit further. The Ragefire, definitely a short to medium range blaster, not a long range at 50 feet kind of blaster. I think I would say maxes out around 40 feet. The belts did survive. They did fall from up here down there, so they did survive. So they do seem to be pretty durable. You're definitely gonna have to practice loading with this thing. Once you figure it out, it's not too bad. All right, so with the range test out of the way, let's move on to my final thoughts. All right, so after that last segment, I got sick. So hopefully this section doesn't feel that disconnected. But anyway, X-Shot Insanity Ragefire. What are my thoughts on it? I do like the use of Picatinny rail instead of using a proprietary rail system. They actually have quite a few mounting options. You have two rails on the side, one in the back here, and you also get one on top of the scope here as well. I also like the inclusion of sling attachment points. It's very nice, very useful for when you're holding it without the tripod. Even though this blaster is quite light, even with batteries, you'll still probably get a little tired of holding it. And also reloading too. You need two hands to reload. It's pretty balanced with the front handle here and the rear grip here. Not front heavy at all because this barrel is made out of a very thin light plastic. I do like the inclusion of the kind of paddle trigger here. I do have one criticism about this trigger. To me, it just kind of feels weird and squishy. It's not when you're revving it, which is when you push it in. It's when you are firing it, which is when you pull it down. It feels kind of heavy. And this grip texture is kind of smooth, so your finger has a knack of just slipping off, which kind of beats the purpose of it. Especially when I'm using it in hip fire mode instead of using the tripod. When using the tripod, this is easy because you got two thumbs. But other than that, the trigger is, it's all right. So this blaster also came with batteries. I used these for the entire review. I didn't swap them out for anything because I figured if X-Shot sold the blaster with pre-installed batteries, that's kind of how they want you to use it out of the box. So that's why we used these instead of swapping them for fresh ones. Though I would recommend, if you do buy this blaster and it says it includes batteries, open the cover up, make sure none of them have leaked, or swap them out for a different set of batteries if you want. That's also fine. So let's talk about the accessories. Let's talk about the scope. So this scope is pretty cool in my opinion. It's a Picatinny compatible scope. Pretty simple reticle. I actually really do like this reticle and this scope. No issues there. Now we can check our dart storage and see how many survivors we have. As you can see, the Dart Zone Adventure Force one didn't fare too well. We lost, how many did we lose? We lost 6, 7, 8. We lost 8 darts out of it. Most of it's Adventure Force. These are pretty old and worn out. And then we have our Nerf and X-Shot one here. We lost only 2. 2 Nerf ones. As with the Adventure Force and Dart Zone, this is a mixture of good and worn out darts. So I'm not too surprised that the X-Shot darts stayed in here because these are fresh out of the box. So overall, pretty good holders. The belts. So the belt feeding feature on this blaster is pretty neat. It does work pretty well. I haven't had a single jam from a dart. It has skipped darts. The only time the blaster ever jammed on me was when the belt wasn't straight, and if it kind of moved off to the side at an angle, it will kind of get stuck and start making really angry noises. So just keep that in mind. Loading the blaster is kind of time consuming and probably requires some practice. Well, you don't really have to pay too much attention of getting the belt on the little star things. You got to make sure you don't push the belt in too far where you skip the first dart, but also make sure you don't push them in too little where the belt won't feed. So I don't think this chain is going to break when you're using it in the blaster. I did drop this chain on the ground from around 3 to 3.5 feet onto concrete, and it didn't chip or crack. I mean, this is pretty soft plastic. The problem I can see is when you're trying to dismantle it. If you want to take a chunk of chain off, it could potentially break it. I was taking chunks of the chain apart. I noticed I was creating a little stress mark, and they do seem to be forming pretty dramatically and pretty quickly too. You just have to be careful when you take it apart. And our last little accessory is the tripod, which is probably my least favorite accessory included with this blaster. I'm just gonna say it's pretty flimsy. These plastic little pins that hold it open and stuff, I don't know how long they're gonna last. I feel like it's gonna break at some point. The whole thing is made out of plastic and rubber with some metal pins here and there. This thing just moves around way more than it should. Kind of lightweight too. It doesn't feel sturdy. And while I was doing the firing demo, I was like, is the blaster going to break this tripod here? Is it gonna break it? And I mean, it didn't. It's fully intact right here, but I'm concerned of the longevity of this, especially because this blaster is made for children, and children are pretty rough on their toys. And speaking of this blaster being made for children, this tripod is pretty short. Not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be a little bit taller due to all the promotional images showing young adults using this, but they probably had it propped up on something. I measured it from ground to the handles here, and it's around 3 feet in overall height. If there's anything positive to say about the tripod, it's definitely the attachment system. It's just a very simple little pin here that just comes out pretty easily, and you can just put the tripod in and then just lock it down. Oh, before I forget, I do need to talk about the barrel here. Now, the barrel is cool because it spins and looks really awesome and everything. It completes the overall minigun look of this blaster. The problem I have with it is this little plastic shroud around the actual barrel. That's what this orange part is. This is the actual barrel. This is actually a harder plastic. But this right here, the kind of shroud that's around it, this is really thin. Really thin. I don't know if you could see that, but that is super thin. It's not great. And now I understand the reason why they chose to go for thinner, lighter plastic is so the overall weight of the blaster isn't too front heavy, which it completely is not. They accomplished that. But my concern is because the gaps here, they are pretty big, at least on mine. You could get skin pinched in it, or maybe even some hair. It's not great. I definitely think they should have done something different here. But even with these few shortcomings, I still really like this blaster. Accessories it includes are pretty cool as well, and the overall look of this blaster, I really do like it. So definitely would recommend checking this blaster out. Now in terms of pricing, so this is where things get a little bit complicated, because this is the Sam's Club variation of it for around $50, and the regular one is, at least at Target, they're selling it for $45, and I'll put some other prices up on screen from some other places that are selling it. So you probably could find it cheaper elsewhere. I would recommend, if you already have a Sam's Club membership, or if you're planning on getting one and you're planning on using it, to just go for the Sam's Club version. We get double the belts and more than double the darts. I think it's a much better deal for like $5 more. And if Sam's Club has a sale, even better, right? If you're gonna get the normal one, wait till it goes on sale. Toys are not necessity, so save money where you can. But yeah, still recommend the blaster, and that will be the end of this video. So let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. Be sure to check out my other videos. I'll have one linked at the end of the video that YouTube recommends. And as always, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.